but let's talk about at least number three.
Number three is going to talk about dating after 50, because so often we find ourselves when we reach that middle age crisis, kids are gone, we're at home with the wife or we're at home with the husband. And now what? We no longer getting along because the glue that kept us together was the kids. Now the glue is gone. Now the house is empty. And now what do we do?
Darius, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining me for a live this time as we preview the world to your upcoming release on Writing with Authors.
Thank you, Vincent. I appreciate it. Enjoy. Looking forward to this one.
As we're recording this now, his episode is coincidentally coming out on that Entrepreneur Show this upcoming Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. He talked about so much, including until you can follow, you can't lead. Advice for deals, 250K to $1 billion plus. How he was reading the Wall Street Journal at 9 years old. I loved learning that. But for today, we are here on Writing with Authors, exclusively on YouTube, a show that highlights amazing authors and gives you tips for success in the writing world and a new book for your queue. Today, he's bringing on Leadership DNA. Big congrats for going USA national bestseller that puts everything together from expert insights to tangible tips on mastering the art of leadership. Darius, walk us through you as a kid. Did you ever see yourself being a published author? Was that a goal?
No, not at all. I mean, that was one of those things that it just happened by happenstance. And the issue of the hour was I was always writing diaries. So I probably got in my memorabilia, I have containers of memorabilia, all the different things that I wrote about, everything from, just experiences to, enjoying playing Batman with your cape on and, grabbing the chandelier and swinging around the house. So you name it.
Well, you mentioned by it just happened, life worked out that way. Walk us through what led you to actually putting out the book.
Having so many different moments of things that you just realize that people need to know about, their experiences, people that are going through things from depression to suicide to relationship issues to volatility to just dealing with the normal day-to-day activities when it comes to relationship and running your business, how you're running your business and why you're not getting the clients. And most importantly speaking, just realize that you're your own worst enemy a lot of times.
And that's certainly the truth. We're often the only obstacle that we can control that's standing in front of us, yet we put ourselves so far back. Who was the target reader, you'd say, for this book?
Executives, young people that are trying to be executives, and most importantly speaking, executives that are already in those positions and needing to reflect on what they've done wrong in their careers and how to turn around and give that same mentorship to new young leaders coming on behind them.
You've done extensive coaching through those experiences. Is there an underlying or common thing that they did wrong that maybe you can give a tip or two along the way here?
Arrogance and hubris.
Let's talk about it.
Sometimes you find yourself at the top of your game and there's an arrogance to not look around and realize that you are not at the top of your game, because until you can actually, lead with following, are you a good follower? And sometimes you find yourself dismissing your staff and dismiss the people around you that have an idea of what needs to happen, and you don't want to listen to them. And then in that hubris, not being able to take back that mindset that says, I'm going to charge into this, and therefore I'm not going to look around at all the potential obstacles that could happen or things that could go wrong.
I love how you broke that down there. Now, in this book, I'm sure you're going much, much deeper to this. But I do want to, before we get to the writing advice, we get to some writing tips. I want to inspire everyone right now because he's got a series planned out, if you will. He can talk about it much better than me, but I'd love to talk about the next release because I know you're already there.
The next release is going to be called TPS, Timing, Precision, and Synchronicity, where I talk about what happens, and I'll use characters, for example, Patrick Mahoney, Michael Jordan, Barack Obama, General Patton, and Hannibal. What do they all have in common? They all had a situation that before they became who they became, they were determined not to be who they were going to be. And what I mean by that is somebody told them, it's not happening. Michael Jordan was told it wasn't going to happen. Patrick Mahomes was going into baseball. Barack Obama was just a activist, right? So from the activist to the White House. General Patton was a general. But he became, badass General Patton, and he conquered Europe. We look at Hannibal. He took elephants across the Alps. So this says it all. These individuals were determined to be determined, and they had resilience and they had consistency, and they made it after. But at some point in time, they were told it wasn't going to happen.
I have found that the lessons learned I have had from being hit by the car leaving a bar and all of these things, when I was told no, obviously, to maybe even make it through the night, but no, you will not go back to school, no, all of these things, it certainly shaped me to keep going, keep getting it. But in order to get to book number 2, we have to get to book number 1. So I want to back it up here for some advice where, Darius, is there something you wish you knew about the writing process that you didn't find out until you got started or maybe even finished?
Acknowledge your shortcomings. Acknowledge that you're not a writer per se, but you're a thinker, and get the right people in the place to position your writings appropriately. For example, having a good ghostwriter or having a good writer or a good dictator that can actually dictate your thoughts, and then have someone that can actually proofread and make things easier, because that was one of the biggest things. I had all this material, but putting it all together, I mean, your mind's helter-skelter, you're all over the place. So you need somebody that can actually make it all cohesive and make it all work. So getting a good ghost person and or a good writer, if you're not, and recognize this is your shortcoming, and then how to put it all together. Because sometimes that's the hardest part, the pieces. It's almost like an outline to a business plan.
I love how you said that there. You brought awareness to, hey, it's not about writing the book. There's a lot of different people in this process, from the editor, publisher, even if you don't do self-publish, formatter, book cover, book title. How did you land on your book title, Darius?
Interestingly enough, it was based upon the things that I've seen people do wrong. I've seen so many people miss their timing. I've seen so many people miss being precise, and most importantly speaking, being out of sync. And so even in the character figures that I'm having in the book, I went through the process of lining up and laying out how I want these characters to look. So when somebody looks at the characters in the book, they'll look at it and be like, okay, this character or this photograph is symbolic of what this chapter is all about, because there's a lot of great thinking that went into this versus, okay, you just write this book and that's it. It's like, no, I wanted the book to make sure that when you're looking at it 10 years from now, you look back and you're like, okay, that chapter that talks about synchronicity, he has a sniper in there, and the sniper is there for a purpose, because you've got to be on point. That sniper never misses 99% of the time. So that's what I'm talking about being sharp and razor precision.
Said that very well again, and I think we learn a lot from other people who have done it great. We have learned a lot from people like Darius today, who's putting everything into this book. Is there a leader throughout history that's made a profound impact in your life that we can put everybody else on to some of their findings and expertise?
3,
All right, there we go.
Alexander the Great, Sun Tzu, and interestingly enough, and this is a more recent one, looking at Mao Zedong.
Let's talk about one thing about each of them.
And Alexander the Great, the ability to say and he was my namesake, Darius, right? When they were going to battle, and he said to Darius, now we can handle this one of two ways. Either I can take the country or I can destroy it. Choice is yours. Okay. So looking at how he operated, right? In the case of Mao Zedong, to turn around and lead a people of a country that basically was being destroyed by the Japanese, and how he turned around and created this mythical figure of himself, and how people were challenged by what he was doing. Okay. And then when we look at, I'll say one of my other characters, I'll throw the other one out and I'll throw this one in, General Patton. Just how bold he was, to go into Europe and just be like, I'm doing this regardless. I don't care what Eisenhower or anybody else says. I'm going here. I'm taking this.
Oh man, can't argue with any of those. And I always enjoyed, as you know, on the entrepreneur show, I asked the guests which entrepreneur throughout history would you like to sit down with? And I always enjoy the titans of trade, the industry guys who came before Google, before the internet, before much technology, where there was no trial and error, really Googling it, fixing it. No, this is what it is. So we've got some leadership advice today. We got a little bit of writing advice. And now we talked about that book too. Does this series expand past 2 books?
7.
All right, I'm going to ask it now. We got to dive into a little bit of each of these, and then everyone soon enough, we'll be getting his contact info to stay in the loop with this. But let's talk about at least number 3.
Number 3 is going to talk about dating after 50, because so often we find ourselves when we reach that middle age crisis, kids are gone, we're at home with the wife or we're at home with the husband. And now what? We no longer getting along because the glue that kept us together was the kids. Now the glue is gone. Now the house is empty. And now what do we do?
And I'm sure you're going to impact just as many people as book 2 and book 1 with that. Did you have a personal experience that led to this, or what led to that book?
A lot of my friends, including myself, were getting divorced, and more importantly speaking, finding out what happens when you're now dating after 50. And I call it's the trauma, because now you have a new set of traumas. The traumas now are you're waking up, the bed is empty, you're waking up, and the bed may not be empty, but you might as well feel as though you're empty. And more important speaking, just the process of how now you're afraid, you're stuck in your own ways, and how to get out of your own way now, once again.
Man, incredible. And now, at least give us the title, or not the title, the theme of books 4 through 7.
I'm going to deal with everything from real estate entrepreneurship to including things that deal with something very simple, just life's sagas and, just navigating through the principles of how you actually navigate this time period, because this is going to be a very traumatic time. These times over the next 4 to 6 years, as the world changes, as we get closer to a one world perspective, and how people have to navigate both language, both technology, both cultural and ethnicities.
Congratulations on all the success you've had to lead to these books and now putting this information out into the world. And 7, that's going to be great to see. Please reach out to me after each book. We'll go ahead and bring it out back on this show. And I think we'll still be cooking them up. And any last words? Is there anything that we can look out for from you in the near future, whether it's with writing, your business, your personal life?
There will be a series of speaking engagements that'll be lined up over the next probably 5 or 6 months, and then there will be more conferences as well as courses that'll be being offered.
Yeah. Are we talking virtual events or in-person events?
Oh,
Oh, oh man, that's exciting.
one of the courses is going to be the no effing BS, meaning where I'm talking about, stop getting in your own way, realize and really redefine yourself and look into yourself and realize why you missed your mark. That's very important. So many executives and entrepreneurs keep missing their mark, and they keep saying, well, it's the economy, it's this, that, and the other. But are you where you need to be at the right time under the right circumstances?
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. Now, where can we find you online and check out the books?
And you can find me at dariusross.com and also Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so forth.
Great. And the book's available where?
The book's available at Barnes & Noble and so forth. They can look at the book title there, and that gives them an idea. And they can find it online, and I think it's Amazon and a couple other different carriers.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that. Everyone, be sure to go check out his book. This is Writing with Authors. Remember to subscribe to this channel for the next show. And Darius, as I mentioned, he's got an incredible show coming out on that Entrepreneur Show as we record next Tuesday. So we'll probably wait for this about a month before we let it go. But go back, check out his interview on that Entrepreneur Show. I'll put it in this description as well, so you can learn all about his incredible business career. My name is Vincent A. Lancey, and you can find me online by Googling me at Vincent A. Lancey or social media at the same. Thank you for tuning in. This is Writing with Authors, and Darius, thank you for stopping by.
It's been a pleasure, Vincent. Take care.